Hey everyone, Eliana here. Today, I want to give you 5 questions that can help you tell your story without telling your life story. So, this is for you if you're trying to write like an about page, or if you're wanting to write a little bio for media, for things like podcasts, for example, or for social media. It's more challenging when you're trying to make it into like a short summary. It's pretty difficult to tell everything you need to say about yourself, or even to describe what you do sometimes and who you do it for and how you do it in just 150 characters. So the first thing I would accept is that it's probably not going to be possible to get a perfect story. You're not going to be able to tell everything. But these 5 questions I'm going to ask you are going to help you figure out what is the skinny, what do you really need to say versus what is bloat that is going to distract from the message. Because I believe that the about story on your about page, for example, it should be relevant to the work that you do and who you do it for and how you do it. So why should you even create one in the first place? I think it's important to talk about why invest time and energy into something like this, because most people will tell you that it's a waste of time. You should concern yourself with going out there and selling and all of that. It's not about that. It's not about this or that. Both of these things are important. It depends on what your goals are. If all you care about is making a little bit of money, then yeah, you should probably just go ahead and focus on just selling, just making money. But if you're like me and you're building a brand of full self-expression, you're wanting to build something that is actually meaningful to you, and it's important to you that the person who is reading or listening understands the backstory that led you to the realization or led you to a certain teaching, a point of view, a philosophy, a perspective, then your story matters. And if you're like me, you probably also don't want to tell your life story. Maybe you want to keep certain things private. Maybe you don't want to overwhelm. You don't know what needs to stay or what needs to go. So to me, it matters to share, because sharing the story helps people understand your teachings better. People will listen to your content or read your content one way, and then after they know your story, they'll completely understand it in a totally different way. It's going to be completely different because now they have some context, and your story can help them make sense of all of it. Plus, it's a great asset on your website. And let me tell you, those who tell you that people don't read the about page, maybe because people don't read their about page, but I think if people care about you, they care about your content. I know for me, for example, if I start watching somebody's videos and I start to like how a person thinks, or I'm curious about them, I go to their website and I go to the about page. If I think the brand is interesting, if I think the marketing is interesting, if I think the business is interesting, if I am interested in any way, shape, or form, you better believe I'm going to the business and to the website, and I'm using the find function to try to find the about page if I can't see it, if it's not obvious. So I am seeking it out. So I think, other people are no different in my experience. Okay, so how do you write your about page without, or telling your story without telling your life story? 5 questions. First things first is, what was the initial problem or challenge? This is where to start. So I want you to think back to your life before the solution that you're introducing. Hopefully you are working with something that is a reflection of your story. You're not, bringing it out of the ether. It's something that you went through, a lesson that you learned, and now you're bringing it back to people. So think about, what were you struggling with and what was the situation like? Think about your life. Think about how you were, you were going through it. What did it look like in your head? What was your understanding of the problem? This is so important. It isn't just about telling I was going through ... It's more of to try to take yourself back to the state of consciousness or the state of mind that you had at that time, because this is how you're going to relate to the person. Because remember, they're still seeing life in a certain type of way. They're still seeing it in a certain type of way. So you have to go back to that moment. So again, question number 1, what was the initial problem or challenge? If you don't have clarity about all of this, just give yourself the simple answer to this question. Even if you can't remember what was it like going through it, we'll talk about that in question number 2. So question 2 is, how did it affect you? And I'm talking not just, on the outside, what did it do to your life, but really you want to dig deep. You want to dig into the emotions. How did it affect you emotionally? And how did it affect you in tangible ways? You might also want to think about, how did it affect your experience of life, not just your emotions. So I'll give you an example. my work and what I do as helping people build brands of full self-expression. I help them, you know, make their business and their brand a reflection of who they are. Now, I remember a time when I had a business that was on paper successful, but I wasn't happy. And I felt that I was suppressed. I felt that I had to kind of play a role where I was caught up being someone that I was not. And I didn't know, how do I be myself and do what I love and make money at the same time? I knew how to make money, but I just didn't know how to do those two things at the same time. How did it affect me? There was the emotion, of course, of stuckness, of despair, of feeling like everything is so difficult, dragging my hands, my energy being drained, not having the motivation, the inspiration to do the work, not feeling excited, not feeling alive. It was affecting me, obviously, in my health. It was affecting me financially because it was hard for me to, you know, to not spend money because I was trying to make myself feel better. It was affecting me in many different ways, but also there was a philosophical impact. There was an impact on my state of being, and just this, not just an emotion, but like a cluster of emotions, like that it triggered something in me that was like, why can't I have both things at the same time? Why can't I both be myself and be quote unquote successful and financially free? Like, why do I have to choose? Why can't I be my spiritual creative self and bring my full self-expression, my creativity, my weird, if you will, and be okay in business? Felt like I wasn't allowed to do that. So you want to dig deep into how did it affect your life? And this created a kind of a gray overlay on everything else. And so even when I was working, I couldn't make myself do the work because money was no longer motivating to me. And so, you know, I wasn't, you know, my mind was very scattered. And when I was not working, I was thinking about that. And so it was affecting other areas of my life too. So question number 2 was, how did it affect you? Question number 3 is, what was the event that sparked the change? Now, this is not always like one moment, one defining moment that, you know, for me, it was a gradual thing. So it wasn't just one moment that made me go, okay, now I'm going to get up and make a difference in my life. It was a series of moments, but it helps to remember a moment that represents this story. So like for me, that moment, I don't talk about it a lot, honestly, but I can talk about the fact that, you know, it's gotten to a point where on paper, everything is great. The business is doing great, but in reality, I can't make myself write an email anymore. Like my energy was gone. It's just like, it literally felt like the life force was leaving my body. That's, you know, a moment. But I can even narrow it down further and talk about a moment that I still remember to this day. It was like a Friday afternoon, 4:45 p.m. And for context, I was working maybe 1 or 2 hours, 3 hours. If I'm being super productive, I'm doing 3 hours of work. So it was very mellow. You know, I had a lot of free time and everything. And you know, it was 4:45 and a client sends me an email, gentle email, just requesting, you know, something, and wouldn't take me more than 15 minutes. And I was annoyed. And I felt bad about being annoyed because I like this client. You know, and they're paying me really good money. They're not asking for much. It shouldn't bother me that I have to do the work, but everything felt like too much work because I didn't enjoy it. So money, the fact that I was receiving money didn't feel like a fair exchange somehow. And I also felt guilty about that. It was a very like complex, compound emotion on top of emotion, on top of emotion. I didn't have the tools at the time to work through those things like I do today. So anyway, point is, client sends me this, and this shouldn't take me more than 15 minutes. But I'm looking at it and I'm getting annoyed. And I remember grabbing this like notebook and slamming it and leaving my desk and everything and going to lay down on the bed and just staring at the ceiling for some time. And I was like, I can't keep doing this. Like something is not right here. You know, I should be happier. I should be feeling different. Should, right? Anyway, that's a defining moment. But you got to remember, or it helps rather, to remember a moment, a defining moment that kind of summarizes the feeling, right? A story. There's a reason why those things work, because when you tell it that way, people can kind of imagine what it was like. and it takes it from a concept to a reality. This is what it's like to go through this. And this is something that I tell my clients all the time. By the way, everything that I'm talking about right now is part of my program, Brand of Full Self-Expression. I tell my clients about it all the time. There's something called a trigger event. Okay, so a trigger emotion is the thing that makes the person want to make a change. You don't get up and decide to make a big difference in your life, go get that program that is probably going to cost you a lot of money, or do the thing that's going to take you a lot of effort or time and whatever. We don't want to do these things unless there is a strong emotion that's compelling us, whether it's an emotion that's pulling us towards something or pushing us away from something. Either one of these work. So that's a trigger emotion. And a trigger event, and this is, like I said, part of the brand of full self-expression, is I also teach how to create the offer that sells, not just how to tell your story, how to brand yourself, how to communicate your value, how to create a distinct and unique brand, how to build an audience, how to create content with ease and have fun, and how to be productive but joyfully, how to create an offer, how to communicate the offer, et cetera, how to market yourself, how to advertise yourself. It really is a complete program in my perspective, and in my clients' perspectives as well. But anyway, one of the things that I talk about is trigger event. So like I said, trigger emotion is the thing that compels you to do the thing, but the trigger event is something that your client or potential client is experiencing in their day-to-day life. And when you tell a story like the one that I just told you, it may not be that they experience the same thing, but as you're painting a picture about the story, as you're using that event that you're going through. For example, you say, oh, I was so tired and I just sat in front of Netflix and I inhaled a tub of ice cream. It's not a lie. I used to do those things to try to distract myself, right? Those are trigger events. Those are trigger events when a person does all these things that the person can see themselves in that. So even if they hadn't experienced the same thing exactly the same way, they can kind of see themselves in that. It's like, I know that feeling. I know what that's like. I do the same thing. I feel the same thing, et cetera, and it registers. And that registers in a completely different way than if you were to say, I help you build a brand of full self-expression. Yeah, what the fuck does that mean? Right? But then if I tell you that I help you build a brand that reflects who you are, so you can be yourself, so you can do what you love, so that work feels joyful, so that everything makes sense, so that you feel every day when you wake up, you are compelled to, you don't have to push yourself. You're being like, you're pulled to do the thing. It's actually harder for me to not do the work now than it is to do the work. That's how I know I'm doing it right. So anyway, you gotta be specific when it comes to those things, right? Make it real by talking about real life, not just concepts. So again, question number 3, what was the event that sparked the change for you? And it can be an internal realization. It doesn't have to be something that happened in the outside world, but you've got to paint a real picture from day-to-day life. Okay, that's the 3rd question. So far we said, what was the initial problem or challenge? How did it affect you internally and externally? And think of the moment that, the change, the moment that sparked the change for you. Question number 4, who or what was your guide? This one is, for most people, a little bit challenging because it isn't one guide, it isn't one person. It's not like a movie, like the hero, their entire life is a problem and it accumulates to this one moment. They meet the guide and their whole life is changed. Real life doesn't work that way. Sometimes you meet people who really change your life. There are some people who have made a huge impact in my life. But then, for the most part, it's not one person. Even in that case, it's multiple people. And the guide is also not necessarily a person. The guide can be a thing. It can be an experience. It can be a challenge in your life, a lesson that life has given you, a tool, a modality, whatever it may be. Think about, the people and the things and the events that have guided you to receive the lesson that helped you move through this challenge. So you want to think about them, those things that helped you move through the block, and list them out and figure out what is it about them that helped you. And you don't have to include all of them, because I think a lot of times we try to include everything in our storytelling. So like, when I started this, you know, process of refining my story, in my about page, oh my goodness, I mean, I was like, you know, I talked about all the plant medicine ceremonies. I talked about all the, and I'm this person and that person and this program and that program and this thing and that thing. And I did this, and then I traveled for 8 years, and then I did this, and then, you know, and it just becomes so convoluted and so congested and so difficult to really get the essence of what you're saying. And you don't have to actually talk about all of these things. Sometimes all of this I summarized as a process of knowing myself. That's my guide. That's my teacher. Like listening to life, taking feedback, and getting to know myself. That was the guide. And in a sense, I am my best and biggest guide, essentially, because, and you too, by the way, like I think, I don't think I've ever met anyone who wasn't primarily guided by themselves, by their higher self. And last but not least, what was the result? That's the question number 5. What was the result? So, you know, how have things changed for the better? And you want to, again, get specific. Just like in question 3, we wanted to get specific about what was the moment change, right? Or question 2, how did it affect you internally, externally? And in the 5th question, you want to ask yourself, what was the result? And you want to get specific about the result. So how has your life improved as a result of doing this? List both emotions and material changes, or tangible, if you will. So I can tell you, for example, in my case, my life has changed in that emotionally, I feel free, I feel alive, I feel grateful, I feel a sense of ease, I feel a sense of playfulness. Oops. I feel a sense of playfulness, which I really struggled with this when I was going through it, before I figured how to do this. I hated having to wake up every day and face life, because there were so many things that just felt heavy and too serious and not fun, no meaning or purpose behind them, no sense of excitement. And, you know, emotionally, my days were very grayish and blurry and heavy. You know, I would wake up and it felt like I was just pushing myself. I'm pushing myself to go to the gym. I'm pushing myself to do the work. I'm pushing myself to talk to, I'm pushing myself to go on a meeting. I'm pushing myself to do this. I'm pushing myself to do that. It's just a sense of pushing constantly, and constantly feeling like, what am I doing? And what's the purpose of all this? What's the point of this? And a sense of confusion. Oh my goodness. The confusion, the overall, I think clarity is like the best thing that has happened in this process, is just waking up with a sense of clarity, knowing exactly what I'm doing. Not that I know the answers to everything, but I feel at peace. I feel like I know what I'm doing. I know why I'm doing it. I know how. I feel certain. I feel confident. I feel good. I don't feel like I need an outside thing to make me feel good. I feel self-sufficient, self-sustaining. Those are just some of the emotions that I feel on a day-to-day basis. And then materially, obviously, I have a group program that I absolutely love, that feels like my life's work materialized in a framework that I feel proud of. I feel really good about. I get a lot of positive feedback from my ideal client, and I get to be picky about who I want to work with or not want to work with. I don't have to have any clients that I don't like working with. I don't have to do any work I don't want to do. That's not to say I don't put myself through challenges intentionally. Like when I started making videos, I didn't want to make videos, but I started making videos because I understood the purpose. But I don't push myself. It's clear why I'm doing it. I chose it. And I think that's the key. It's the sense of choice. I choose if I want to do the thing, or if I don't want to do it, I choose to not do it. And I own that. I feel confident about my ability to choose yes or no. It's materializing in the day-to-day, and like how I do work, how I do my marketing, the creative expression, the fun of it. When I write, you know, when I'm like exploring my thoughts and having no fear or doubt or worry or care in the world what anybody thinks, or have to please people, or I have to worry about like they'll misunderstand me, or what if I hurt somebody's feelings, or what if they just don't have that, I don't give a shit. It's not because I don't care about people. It's not true. I care about people, you know, but my care about myself is so exponentially bigger and higher. The care about my well-being and me being happy is, you know, my loyalty is to this, you know, me feeling this way, doing my life's work, staying, in my beautiful lane, enjoying myself, which is fucking infinite. And so you know, on a material level, I get to make money doing what I love with people who are grateful and who are so much fun to be around. On a material level, I get to create content that I enjoy, that I'm proud of. On a material level, I get to have hangouts and Q&A calls and workshops with an amazing audience. On a material level, I enjoy my marketing. On a material level, yeah, it's like, it's everything I ever wanted. And even more than that, stuff I didn't even know I wanted. And somehow it's like, I swear with these things, when you follow this sense of aliveness, when you follow what you genuinely like, that voice tells you, I promise you, there's like, it's almost like, I don't know if this is true or not. And actually, I know from personal experience. I don't know how to explain this to you in a way, like provide you evidence. This is something you got to experience for yourself. But for me, I know it from my personal experience. I know that there is part of me that has known this all along. And it's almost like playing detective with life, where it's like, just follow this trail here and it's going to lead you to something that has already been pre-planned, and it's fun. It's like you're playing with life, and you know, it throws you like a little sign, like go this direction. It's really exciting. You get like the feeling in your body, like this is gonna be fun. You go there and it's like boom, like you did not expect this. It's like, well played, life. You know, like it's just so fun to live from that place, as opposed to trying to make sense of it the way that I was doing it before, trying to do the right thing, trying to do the things that I thought I needed to do in order to, I don't know why, I don't know why the heck I was, you know, forcing myself to do that. Anyway, so to recap, what was the initial problem or challenge? Question number one. Number two, how did it affect you, both emotionally and in external and internal struggles? What was the event that sparked the change? And it may or may not be a big event, small event, internal, external. At the end of the day, you want to capture it in something that is real. Remember, day to day, something that other people can see themselves in. They don't have to experience the same event, but they have to experience similar emotions and feel like you're going to get me because you've gone through something like that. Question number four, who or what was your guide? And your guide could be a person, it could be a tool, it could be a modality, it could be a combination of things. Keep it simple. And five, the last question is, what was the result? And you want to talk about internal and external results. So not just the emotion, but not just the material, sorry, but the emotional benefits. Incredibly important, because you can talk about the material, but without the emotion, you know, and it's not just talk about the emotion, but when you're talking about the material, you have to feel what that felt like. This is why you can't lie about these things, because people are not stupid, and you're, you know, it's easier and more fun to live life from a place of truth. And so if you really felt it, just feel into it and then share that. That's it. Looking at my notes here, I think that's it. I don't have anything else to share other than, by the way, if you find yourself, this is off the notes that I have here, if you find yourself at some level struggling to curb the story. So let's say you start writing your about page and you're drafting it and everything, and you find yourself going off tangents left and right, talking more and more about different things that are not necessary, you know, that are not necessary in the answering of these questions, but you want to share them anyway. There may be some part of you that feels the need to be seen. And that is something you've got to work on before you go out there, seek it from your audience. You're not going to be seen by your audience. Like you need to be seen by you. If you're lucky, you will be seen by some people in real life. I'm blessed that there's very few people in life who see me. My husband is the person that sees me the most, and probably gets me, like, that's why he's my husband, like on a more intimate level. They know you, right? And they see you, and even he doesn't know everything about me. Hi, babe. You know, nobody does. I don't know, I probably don't know everything about me. I'm sure there's stuff in my subconscious that I have no idea about, that hopefully I will get to know in the future, you know, and you too. And I don't know stuff about him. So seeing people, meaning that you know, if you have a pain and it's not been recognized, you may go out there, try to build an audience and try to get your audience to see and recognize that pain and be like, I get you, we understand you, we feel you, we hear you. That's not good. That's not going to be very healthy. It's just going to create a dynamic where you're constantly trying to get them to recognize you, right? Or if you have a need to be seen, as in you want to be recognized for your genius, for your intelligence, for your power, for your whatever it is that you want people to clap, applause, 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 and you're living for the applause, applause. I love that song, Lady Gaga. You're living for the applause. That's also a problem, you know? And so you want to be aware that at the end of the day, if you're having a need to be seen, really what you really, really want is to be seen by you. So you have to see you, you have to recognize you, you have to love you, you have to like you have to see you. When you see you fully, completely, you don't need that from other people. You don't need your audience to see you, right? You don't need their approval. You don't need them to read your story and go, oh my God, it makes complete sense. I love it. At the end of the day, ironically, the about page and your story in the context of branding is not about you. It's not about telling people everything about you. You will never be able to tell people everything about you. This used to boggle my mind. I'm like, how can I tell everything that I need to say? My story is so complex and so long. It feels like my whole life has played into this, what I'm doing today. And it is. My whole life has played into this. So how can I possibly summarize it? It's so difficult. Yeah, you'll never be able to tell your whole story, and you don't need to. You just need to tell your story in a way that if I am curious, if I watch your content, I'm like, wow, like I really like this. I'm curious about this person. I like their content. I want to see, I want to check out their website, see what they do, you know, and check out the about. I just want to get a gist of like, what is this all about, you know? So maybe in my case, I could tell you could go to my about page. I've refined it a gazillion times. I'm sure I'll refine it again and again. But, you know, brandsarealive.com, you can go to about. There's a section where I talk about, you know, here's in the context of what this is, what I do. In the context of what I do, I believe that freedom is true freedom is to be yourself. And here's my story, as in like, I kept chasing after achievement. Then I built a business that was successful. On paper, it was great, but I felt like garbage. Decided or realized that I couldn't keep achieving or chasing after the next thing. To feel the feeling I was seeking is something I had to face within myself. So I went on a journey of knowing myself. And, you know, by the way, I've been a marketer since and this has been my experience. So now I combine this with this, and I bring all parts of myself to help you build a brand of full self-expression and a business that makes you feel alive. Do you know about everything else that I had to go through to get here? Probably not, but that's okay. That's what content is. That's conversations. People aren't going to know you from the first conversation, just like any relationship. The first one is a hello. Here's a little bit about myself. Nice to meet you. Okay, if you're interested in continuing this conversation, or want to watch the next piece of content and the next one and the next one, and you think of it as conversations, each one reveals a little bit more about yourself. And people who want to still be around you, who get benefits from these conversations, who enjoy the conversation, aka the content, will eventually learn enough about you. But if you see you, you're not going to need to be seen. So remember this when you're creating your about. I hope this was helpful. Again, this is just one tiny, tiny part of the brand of full self-expression framework that I use with all of my clients, whether you're a private client or you're part of my group program. I will put a link wherever you're watching this so you can check it out. I am now accepting applications, or before applications, actually. I'm accepting people getting onto the list to be notified when the applications and the early bird pricing is available. So make sure to put your email if you want to receive a notification when it is available, because there's going to be a very short period of time where you can get this for early bird pricing, along with the application and everything else that you need to get started. So I'll put the link so that you can start reading about it to understand what this program is all about. Feel free to send me any questions you have about it. And also, I have a workshop coming up on June 29th. It's going to be about creating a sellable offer. So if you're wanting to make money doing what you love, this would be a nice sample of the program. It's just like an hour and a half. And this program, by the way, is 12 months. So 52 calls, each one is 2 hours. At the time that I'm making this video, this is how the program is running. And for the foreseeable future, this is how I'm going to be running it. So always reference the page to get the last update. But, you know, it's a lot of time, but you're going to see how in just an hour and a half, what you can get out of us following this framework is truly powerful. And I'm talking about creating a sellable offer. Specifically, how do you take something in the back of your mind that you have a hypothesis, an idea that you want to sell XYZ? How do you take that to the market as a solopreneur? How do you take that to the market? How do you talk to people in a way that is authentic, not slimy, not like, going to strangers in the DMs and trying to convince them to jump on a call with you and things like that in a way that feels bad? None of that stuff. How do you do that in a way that feels good, that feels right? And to get clarity and to test it and to figure out what people are willing to pay money for, so you can find that intersection between doing what you love and making money. June 29, 2024, 11 a.m. Central. I'll put a link wherever you're watching it. If you're watching this video after you've missed it, that's cool. There's always workshops on different topics. So enter your email in the link for like future workshops, and I'll be sure to email you when those are available. All right. I hope today's little video was helpful. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.